And a big aloha and welcome back to our friend who has the new Acoustic Classics album out, Peter Frampton. Aloha, brother. Thank you for taking some time for us here on member-supported Hawaii Public Radio and All Things Considered.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And first, how's Julian these days? It was fun. I don't know if you recall when the two of you were out here a couple years back. You were our guest. We came by the hotel, recorded a little thing with the two of you. How's he these days?
He's doing fine. He's blossoming. We've been out doing our two acoustic tours now, last fall and on the East Coast, and then we just finished one in the spring in March, and on the West Coast. And he was opening up for me on the acoustic set, so it was a show. So it was a lot of fun. He's doing great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, make sure to pass along regards from Hawaii to him. And
all right.
So what led to creating the Acoustic Classics, Peter, during this era when the album is fast sort of becoming an endangered species? Was it something that someone suggested to you, or was it an idea of your own?
Well, I'm always looking for things to do that are different, and I'd never done an all-acoustic tour or album. So that both ideas sort of came at once, and I noticed that various artists had redone their stuff sort of like the original, but just to make a new master, which means the artist gets more money if they own the master themselves. But then a few people have been doing acoustic versions, and people really seem to like it. So it's sort of like nightmare scenario for me, because I never really wanted to do it because I think I was just insecure of not having my megawatts of Marshall behind me and a Les Paul strapped on, and my band, So this was something that I just said, well, I want to do something different, and I'm going to give it a go. So I started recording the Acoustic Classics, and then halfway through recording it, I went on tour with my son opening and Gordon Kennedy as my other guitar player on the Raw tour. And that was the first one in October last year. And then I just thought, I'm either going to love this or hate it. So I loved it. It was just a completely 180-degree switch from the band, because it turns into more like a Storytellers meets Unplugged. It's that kind of thing, and the show's length depend on how many stories I tell. But that's what people really seem to like, and it's like we kept it down to a between 500 to 1,000 seater old theaters. And it's really like a large living room vibe, and that the audience are right there in the living room with you as you're giving each one, hopefully they feel, which I'm trying to put out there, a one-on-one performance, which is very intimate.
You mentioned...
So
say again?
When I finished the first Raw tour in October, I came back to my studio in Nashville, and I finished the Acoustic Classic CD in about 3 days. I was so pumped. So, the two things sort of helped each other along, and I can't believe I haven't done it before now. So now, of course, oh, yeah, you should have done that before, Pete.
That is kind of true, because, there's so many monsters, and when you reference having the Marshall stack behind you and the kind of sound I guess you've been used to for so many years, it's funny, the other night, I forget what I was getting, but I needed to go to the corner convenience store, and the PA music in the store as you're shopping for half and half or whatever it is, and they've got the live version of Do You Feel, and it's like the long version with the talk box and everything, and it reminded me how much a part of pop culture that remains, you remain. And then you pick up the new live acoustic, or the new Acoustic Classics, and you hear that version on there, and you just smoke that thing out. It's unbelievable. You're one of these cats. I've said it to you. I've said it to others. You're really underappreciated as a guitar player because your guitar playing is just so smoking. If you can talk about how many takes, tracks, other background details it took in laying stuff down, particularly the version of Do You Feel, which is just mesmerizing.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, the acoustic, the first couple I decided that I would try, probably, I can't remember exactly which ones I started first, was probably All I Want to Be or Show Me the Way or something. And I did a couple, came into the control room, and then listened back. And I just felt that it wasn't the performance I was looking for. I was performing like I was playing with the band. And 40 years on from when they were written and first recorded, they've changed. They morph, into something else. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted as if I said, Dave, come over. Have a coffee. I wrote this song last night, and I want to try it out on you. Would you like to hear it? And hopefully you would say yes. And then I could play you this song that I wrote the night before. Well, that performance you would get would be a very emotional one because it's fresh out of the egg, the song, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And it would also be a very one-on-one, not forceful. It wouldn't be like you were doing it on stage. It would be, like we're in the kitchen and I'm just sort of jamming,
Intimate.
And it would be a very intimate performance of that song. And that's what I realized I had to get back to is when I first wrote, the reason that I put Fig Tree Bay as the first track was it's not a well-known track, but it is the very first track on my first solo record, but electric, Wind of Change album. And and I knew exactly what guitar I wrote that on and everything, my Epiphone Texan. So that was the first one. I said, the reason I recorded this song is because I loved the way it sounded on acoustic, but then we turned it into electric. When I finally picked my guitar up and did that one, it just felt so natural, and I remember where I was, I was in the Mediterranean somewhere on a little island, writing that song on the beach. And in Cyprus, actually. I was in Cyprus on vacation. And so I took all the songs back to when I'd first written them. And when it comes to Do You Feel, I had left that one till the very last because I didn't really think that I was going to be able to do that one because it's it's the least acoustic song
right.
that I have in the act, because it was written on electric and all that. So it came out of a jam from a rehearsal. So in the end, I decided I would go out and just try the intro with two guitars instead of guitar and keyboard. That the da 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 that bit. And when I put the second guitar on, I came in the control room and just started smiling because I said, it's so different, I think it works. And so that's when I recorded the whole thing and obviously chopped it down. There was no talk box in those days, so I kept it. That's the only track that I added a bass guitar, but it's an acoustic bass. It's not electric.
Well, it gives you that feel, though, like you were talking about. It gives you the feel of total intimacy of the one-on-one, just sitting with you, hearing it for the first time out of the egg, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that, and comments that people have made about listening to it, it's like I put the CD on and then I forget and I'm doing stuff around the house, and I think, wow, is he sitting in the living room? It's like, it really is that way, because there's no effects. It's bare bones. It's just mics and guitars and voice, So I just allowed myself some latitude in doing the rhythm guitar and then being able to put an acoustic lead part over the top. Because without that, that's, you only get half of me, if you know what I mean.
No, totally. And that's great that you reference, because I was going to bring up Wind of Change, first solo album, largely acoustic framed sound, and Fig Tree Bay, Wind of Change, All I Want to Be Is By Your Side, all coming from that, included on this record. And you told a great story there of the recording and being, or the writing process at least, and being in Cyprus. What's a story or memory of when you think about those songs like Wind of Change, perhaps, or All I Want to Be Is By Your Side? Any reference point with those that came up when revisiting it?
Well, I think that I remember writing, when I wrote All I Want to Be, that was for the last track for Wind of Change, and we had a session booked, and I had no song. So I write on demand, I guess. And so I'm sitting there all day, the day before the session, trying to come up with something. And about midnight, I called Chris Kimsey, the engineer, co-producer, and said, Chris, I just don't have anything, We're going to have to cancel the session. He said, go back. You'll get something. Don't worry. So I went back, and now it's about 2 a.m, and I come up with that beginning little chordal thing for All I Want to Be, and then I was off, But then I wrote the words and everything that night. No tape recorders. I didn't have anything. There wasn't time, no cassette recorder or anything. So I had to go to sleep hoping I'd remember it, So it's those kind of things that, I think back and laugh now because, nothing whenever I play now at home, I always have at least my iPhone with me and hit record just in case I come up with something that I like, So, it was a stressful evening. And of course I had no sleep, came in the studio. It was like 10 till 6 session. We couldn't get a later one, and, played the song literally on acoustic to the guys, and then out we went and recorded that one. So it was funny.
You know what I think about? Another one that touched me when I hear "I'm in You." I mean, there's a few of them. "Lines on My Face," and I have no doubt that I'm speaking for folks who are listening too. Those are songs that they're very emotional. They're very powerful. I mean, we all have so many connections to them. I mean, were you picking things based on also, how much emotional power they have in your own life? Can you talk about like a song like "Lines on My Face," 1973, Frampton's Camel, but now it's, revisited. I mean, it's still so powerful, and yet maybe even more so when you think about, we've all grown up so much, including yourself.
Yeah, I think that "Lines on My Face" I knew it has always been a very powerful song for me. It's something that I don't feel right if I don't play that one live every night, no matter whether I'm doing an acoustic show or I'm doing a band electric show. It's obviously a song that I wrote from a breakup of a relationship, and it's, everyone's been through that, unless they're extremely lucky. And the first person they ever went out with, they're still with, which I guess can happen, but breakups are breakups. Most of us have them. And so I think it's just one of those songs that, especially acoustically, draws you in because there's just acoustic guitar and the voice. So you're listening to the words. Probably you're more concentrated on the lyrics than you are when you're listening to an electric version.
Thinking about acoustic stuff, and since this is the home of the ukulele, can you tell us the story of the very young Peter Frampton finding Grandmom's Banjolele and how you recall that critical discovery when you frame it through the career that you've been so fortunate to have?
And you could say that again. Thank you. Yes, I mean, I went up to the attic with my dad. I was 7, so it would have been 1957. and we were going up to get the suitcases down for our summer holiday coming up, driving down to Devon somewhere in the West Country in England. And while we were getting the suitcases down, I found this little tiny case, and I said, Dad, what's this? And he said, your grandmother gave me that to put up in the attic just in case one day you ever wanted to, learn how to play. So I said, well, let's get it down. So we got it down, and he showed me, I think, 2 or 3 songs. She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain When She Comes, that one. Michael Row the Boat. And my favorite of the day was Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley. And so I learned those 3. My dad played a little bit of guitar and also knew how to play ukulele, banjolele. So I picked it up really quickly and wanted a guitar then. That was it. For my hands at that point, being 7, the banjolele was perfect size. So, but I was growing into rock and roll music. Michael Row the Boat wasn't doing it for me anymore. So, so I asked for Santa to bring me a guitar, and so when I was 8, 1958, I got my first guitar, and I mean, on the radio then was a plethora of American music. Elvis, Buddy Holly, Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, all the greats, and slightly before that, Fats Domino, and so a lot of guitarists though that I listened to. I like the guitar players that actually wrote their own songs and played their own guitars, like Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran. Those were my 2 American favorites.
And this is all before Bromley Technical School and your first band, the Little Ravens?
Yes, it is. That didn't happen until...
12 years old, David Bowie on board, too.
Yes. And that was, when I shared... we needed a drummer, and the headline band needed a bass player. We had a bass player, so we swapped. But the headline band was George and the Dragons was the name of the band because it was George Underwood's band. But George was best friends with the other singer in the band, who was David Jones, better known as David Bowie. So, and my dad produced the end of term concert, as it were. He was like the Bill Graham of England, or Bill Graham of the school, put it that way. So yes, we had. That's where I got to meet David and George, and the 3 of us would bring our guitars to school, and so. From when I was 12, I'd known David, and for the rest of his life, I've been friends with David and George and I have been speaking a lot recently. Obviously, George is the one that gave Dave the different colored eye. He my father also, as well as teaching art to Dave and George for 4 years. On Fridays, I think he taught boxing. Well, George took my dad's boxing class, and Dave didn't. So I think there was a dispute over a girl, and Monday there was a little bit of a fracas. And my dad, I remember I wasn't even at the school at this time, and Dad came home saying, "Oh, terrible day. Jones had to go. Bowie had to go to hospital. Underwood smacked him in the eye, and it was really a bad hit." So, so that's when that happened. So, I've known both Dave and George for many, many years.
What an incredible life you've had. I mean, you must feel really, really grateful every single day you wake up, huh? My motto is and I hope it will be my meditation word, is gratitude. That's for sure. Because I've, as much as I've been given, I've definitely
had my share of not doing the right thing at certain times, as we all do in life. We've all make mistakes, and as you get a little older, you realize how grateful you are. I do anyway for still being here, especially today when we hear about Prince, yet another one that we've lost. It's been an awful year. So we've lost so many people. But I guess we're getting to that age, the baby boomers, where even though some of these, like Prince was 57, that's not right. He's not even halfway through. So it's just very, very sad to hear this today.
I can imagine. I mean, and you've been through that at different points in your life. And as you said, life isn't always perfect. You faced a lot of different challenges, but it's your resilience and it's also the incredible early beginning that you got that sometimes really impresses me. Not to mention, like I said, you're such a ferocious guitar player. And
thank you.
You really are. And it's people love your songs, but you also have that great playing.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome so much. I love listening, and you do it so well on this album. It just shows without any tricks, you can just pull it off, and it's a real testament. Acoustic Classics is a great example of what I'm talking about.
Aloha, it's Peter Frampton here. I just want to tell you we're in a great place with Dave Lawrence. That's what I have on in my car. It's the only sane radio out there.
What a nice thing to hear from you. Hey, I give you a hug. I give you a high five. I hope this was okay. I really enjoy getting to catch up with you. And God bless you, brother. Keep being safe.
Good to speak to you again.
Take care, Peter. Aloha, man.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.